Once upon a time, in a quiet village nestled between tall mountains and deep forests, there lived a young man named Elias. Elias was not unlike many others. He had dreams, fears, and a longing to be more than he was. But unlike most, he carried a question in his heart that refused to leave him. How can I become a better version of myself? One evening, as the sun dipped behind the peaks and painted the sky in shades of gold, Elias sat by the fire with his grandfather, a man known for his wisdom. Seeing the weight on Elias's shoulders, his grandfather spoke softly. You seek growth, but growth is not found in the destination. It is in the steps you take every day. Elias frowned. But how do I know which steps to take? His grandfather smiled. Let me tell you a story. Long ago there was a sculptor who wished to create the most beautiful statue in the world. He searched far and wide for the perfect block of marble, believing that once he found it, his masterpiece would emerge effortlessly. Years passed, and though he found many fine stones, none seemed perfect. One day, an old sage visited his workshop. The sculptor lamented, I cannot create my masterpiece because I have not found the perfect stone. The sage picked up a rough, discarded piece of marble and said, The stone does not need to be perfect. You must become the sculptor who can see what others cannot. Elias listened intently. His grandfather continued, Becoming better is not about waiting for perfect conditions. It is about shaping yourself with the tools you have, here and now. That night, Elias made a decision. He would no longer wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect version of himself to appear. He would begin where he stood. The next morning he rose before dawn and walked to the edge of the forest. He had always feared the dark, tangled woods, but he stepped inside anyway. With each step, his heartbeat steadied. He realized the fear did not vanish. He simply grew stronger than it. This became his first lesson. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the will to move forward despite it. Days turned into weeks. Elias sought knowledge, not just from books, but from the world around him. He observed the patience of the river, carving its path slowly through stone. He studied the resilience of the trees, bending in storms but rarely breaking. He spoke with villagers, the blacksmith who had failed 100 times before mastering his craft, the weaver who found peace in repetition, the shepherd who understood the art of stillness. Each encounter taught him something new. One evening, as he sat by the river, Elias noticed his reflection in the water. It was the same face, yet something had changed. His eyes carried a quiet determination that had not been there before. He understood then that growth was not a sudden transformation, but a series of small, deliberate choices. He had stopped complaining about the wind and learned to adjust his sails. But the path was not always smooth. There were days when Elias faltered. He would lose his temper, act out of pride, or fall back into old habits. At first these moments discouraged him. Then he remembered the words of his grandfather. A river does not stop flowing because it hits a rock. It finds another way. Elias learned to forgive himself, to see setbacks not as failures but as lessons. As seasons passed, the villagers began to notice a change in Elias. He spoke less and listened more. He worked hard but without hurry. He faced difficulties with a calm mind. One day, a young boy approached him. How did you become so wise? He asked. Elias laughed. I am no sage. I simply decided to stop waiting for a better version of myself to appear and started building it, one step at a time. The boy frowned. But how do I begin? Elias placed a hand on his shoulder. Begin with honesty. Look at yourself, not with judgment, but with clarity. See what needs to change, then take the smallest step you can. Repeat this every day, and one morning you will wake up as someone stronger. And so, Elias's journey continued. He knew he would never reach a final perfect version of himself, and that was all right. Growth was not a race to be won, but a path to be walked. The mountains still stood tall, the forest remained deep, But Elias was no longer the same man who had once sat by the fire, weighed down by his own longing. He had become something more, a student of life, a sculptor of his own soul. The story of Elias is the story of all who seek to grow. It reminds us that we do not need grand gestures or perfect conditions to become better. We only need the willingness to begin, and the courage to continue, one step at a time. The path to becoming a better version of yourself is not somewhere in the distance. It starts right where you stand.